What screams I'm a bad parent? Always believing they're right because they're the adult and therefore not letting the child have any say. Parents who can't apologize to a child. It's okay to have human emotions and moment to be triggered or struggling and lash out or be wrong, but for the love of all things good, apologize and change. Zero interest in the kid. Doesn't care what they do or what happens to them as long as they don't inconvenience them. You're the reason I'm stuck with your father. Sure, Mom, sure. My favorite response to that is, I didn't pick him, you did. I didn't fuck him, you did. Your own children being afraid of you. No child should be afraid of the person that looks after them nearly 24/7. I really don't think it clicks till adolescence either, when you look back and realize that you really were terrified of your father 24/7 as a child. Or it's weird when you realize that not all children hate their fathers. Punishing adult children when they don't do everything you say by silent treatment or nasty texts, days later acting like nothing happened. Saying, you never let go of things. Ironically, never thinking you're a bad parent. I was assigned to arrange a free parenting with love and logic course a bit late in the evening for our school. I thought given the time the class was, lots of parents of some of the challenging kids who work, could make it to the class. Within a very short time, the class was full. I attended the class too and noticed the parents I saw were either teachers or parents of well-behaved kids. I felt so naive to think parents of naughty kids would even bother to show up. This still makes me sad to this day. Demeaning your children as means of punishment. The shame game. Brutal. Or just demeaning them for its own sake. Making your child think they aren't good enough. My mom once told me, you're a screw-up and you'll always be a screw-up. I still think about that every time life isn't going my way or I'm feeling bad. Recently I was rereading some journals from high school, and there were all these entries about things my mom said to me that I don't even remember but have become an intrinsic part of my insecurity. You'll flunk out of college, get married, have a couple of kids, get a divorce and struggle for the rest of your life like we are now. You'll never be a scholar, you probably won't even go to college. Good God, Tardis Notary, did God not give you the sense he gave a horse? She's a very broken, toxic woman, and I cut her out of my life years ago. I moved across the country to live with my father's sister, who took me in as the child she never had. I graduated with my bachelor's, my MFA, and now I'm starting my PhD. I'm a published writer and have presented at conferences and worked closely with / befriended multiple neat best-selling authors. I've achieved more at 35 than she has her entire life. Don't let your parents tell you you're worthless, or that you're incapable of anything you want to accomplish. Chances are they're bitter, damaged people who are jealous of the success and potential you have. Triangulation. After divorce, one of our parents immediately weaponized our relationship against the other. I'm 32 and still unweaving all of the details in my brain. My mom did this big time with us. Behave or I'll send you to your father's was a threat as a kid. Never really knew my dad or why they got divorced. He's dead, so I know I'll never get the actual reasons or facts on it. Edit, to clarify, Mom didn't kill him. They divorced, then he died years later. Blaming your own mistakes and regrets on your kids. Yeah, it's not my fault I was born, it's yours. And the irony of someone who didn't raise the kid properly saying that they were a mistake is even worse. My mother had not intended to get pregnant with me, and yet here I am. Almost every day of my life I heard that, I wasn't planned, I was unwanted, I ruined my parents' life. My childhood was filled with abuse and to this day, the parents still blame me for being born and ruining their lives. They also don't understand why I haven't spoken to or seen them in well over a decade. My favorite part is I would have an older brother, however he died in childbirth. My mother would always invent these lives he would have had if he survived. In all her versions, he would be an astronaut, or a doctor who cured cancer, or a rich successful businessman, all the while ignoring her 4 living children all have mental health issues caused by her. Yelling at the kid for every trivial thing. Treating your son as the man of the house because you're single. Goes right up there with treating your oldest daughter as the stand-in mom because you're single. Or treating your oldest daughter as free nanny and free maid. Using children as pawns in divorces or separations. My niece's father just called his 7-year-old daughter to tell her to make her mother apologize for blocking his number last night. He is upset she won't listen to him scream at her. Kids are opening presents and he's screaming vulgarities at his daughter. Dad of the year right there. So yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. Never saying sorry to the kid when the parents make a mistake. My mom has extreme accountability issues. Nothing is ever her fault. I'm 43M, and after therapy this year I finally confronted her about the abuse I suffered as a kid, emotional from her, and physical from my dad. You know what she told me? That my behavior was the reason she and dad had marital problems, and if I had just tried to be a better kid, the whole family could have been happier. I'm very minimal contact with her for so many reasons. The Narcissist's Prayer. Edit, I didn't write this. It's been posted many times on Reddit. That didn't happen. And if it did, it wasn't that bad. And if it was, that's not a big deal. And if it is, that's not my fault. And if it was, I didn't mean it. And if I did, you deserved it. I don't know if this really screams it, but I absolutely hate when adults tell other adults their children's shameful secrets for no reason. Even strangers. It tells me those children probably don't feel like they can trust their parents. Invalidating your child's feelings, struggles, and/or mental illness in favor of you don't know what struggling really is or some form of back in my day or you kids are so weak. You have just robbed your child of support, told them their feelings do not matter, and informed them that you are not a safe person to confide in. Using them as props/gain for your YouTube channel. Or social media in general. Yeah, anyone that makes their life seem perfect to total strangers is guaranteed to be a real piece of shit in reality. Automatically dismissing and invalidating many of your child's opinions because you think since they're a child, they don't know anything. Yes, they're not always right, but they're still people and should be treated with respect. Saying you're too young to be depressed and ignoring red flags from mental illnesses. I felt that personally. Oh yeah, or saying you have nothing to be depressed about because there are people out there with more difficult lives. Saying things like, you're such a disappointment, or, I wish I had a daughter instead, or, you ruined my and your mother's sex life. This is stuff I heard for years. What the actual hell? That's just messed up. The infantilization of their children. Wanting them to stay helpless babies forever because they don't want them to grow up. I'm a nanny and it seems like a growing trend. It's one thing to engage in some infantile behavior or spoil your children a little. It's another thing to bend to every whim and not make your kids uncomfortable. Example with some kids I'm currently dealing with, not potty training them. Attacking the self-esteem in any way. Yeah, hearing your own mom call you a fat ass is a bit of a damper on the self-esteem. Telling your kid that you need them only for their money in the future. One day we will all live on the same plot of land so that you can still take care of me. I've got a life to live, stop holding me back with your health issues you have caused yourself because you've been a deadbeat for the past 20 years, Mom. Your adult children don't talk to you. Yeah, it took me a while to understand that me wanting to go no contact with my parents is a failure on their part. Not mine. Your kids never visiting once they move out or go to college. Oh, it's me. You've caught me. Both of my parents got separated this year and both of them will be enjoying Christmas alone. They have truly reaped what they have sown. When it's Christmas and you're glad you don't have to see them. When the best gift they can give you is their absence. Zero interest in the kid. Doesn't care what they do or what happens to them as long as they don't inconvenience them. Only caring for the child when they do what you want them to do. For example, if they play the sport you want them to play. And when they inconvenience them, violence solves the problem by shutting the kid up again. Being addicted to meth. Jesse. Yo, bitch. We need to cook. I volunteer at and have had student placements at a children's hospital and we've had patients with serious brain injuries due to abuse, shaking, attempted drowning, etc. So yeah, I'd say those parents are pretty bad. When I was maybe 9 we lived in some apartments. One night I heard a baby crying and crying but it sounded like it was outside. I looked out my window and saw a man holding a pillow over a baby's face trying to kill it. I freaked out and told my mom and she called the cops. Years later I met a woman with a child who had very severe delays mentally and physically and she is telling me the story of how she got away from her abusive ex-husband. In an odd series of coincidences over 20 years later I reconnected with my neighbor from those apartments. That was the worst thing I have ever seen in my life. Edited, thank you all so much for the outpouring of love for my mom. I told her Reddit has deemed her a hero. I am sure you guys made her day. Not correcting your kids. It's okay, they're kids. Well, you kinda forgot the part where you're supposed to teach them. They don't just grow out of their bad behavior by themselves. Thinking that small children are just selfish tiny adults. Your kid isn't asking for stuff because they are selfish, mostly we're excluding their occasional manipulative tendencies. They are doing it because they are 5. Don't be a dick to your kid because they are asking for support/help/food. They also know nothing other than themselves. They're learning. It isn't selfishness, it's their worldview which is literally undeveloped. If you want to see more content like this, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for daily uploads. After you've done that, check out one of our other videos.